and welcome back to another edition of SportsZone. This is our soccer segment, Studio 90. I'm joined here, as usual, by Lucas and Jessica. So, crazy week in the Champions League this week. We'll start off by talking about the game that everyone's talking about. Manchester City winning the second leg 4-3, but not winning the tie. Tottenham winning on away goals 4-4. I'll throw it over to Lucas first. Lucas, what was your main takeaway from just this crazy match?
You know, I turned on the game, and it was the 5th minute, and I just saw Son score, and I was like, wow, Tottenham might do this. And then I saw it was 1-1 in the 6th minute, and then it's a crazy amount of goals. In the first 21 minutes, it's 3-2 Man City. And, Man City looked like they were starting to pull away, but then, you have that late goal, kind of controversial with the Llorente handball. But, at the end of the day, Tottenham outplayed Man City, and even though it was going back and forth the whole time, one of the craziest matches we've seen this year for sure. I think the Roma-Barca game was a little bit better last year, but it was just absolutely insane, back and forth the whole time. And I do think that yesterday Tottenham did play better, although you saw, they kind of lost the game. Tottenham looked a lot more fluid. Even with the Sissoko injury, they having to bring in Llorente a lot earlier than expected as the only backup striker, because Kane's injured as well. They held their own, and, even though they lost, I think they're going to go far in this Champions League.
Yeah, you touched on definitely a few things there. Son, just with those 2 goals, unbelievable.
Curve the one.
Absolutely. I think we can all agree that City are the more talented team, but I think Tottenham just came out there, played with fight, never gave up. And for City, there are questions to be asked of Pep Guardiola here, because
the VAR at the end.
Their goal is to win a Champions League, and questions to be asked about. We'll touch on the VAR for a second. Obviously, that late goal by Aguero getting called off. I think we all agree that Aguero was offsides, but after the game, there were questions about that Llorente handball. So I'll throw it to Jessica. Jessica, did you believe that was a handball?
Personally, no, not really. It didn't seem like he was trying to touch it with his hand, so if not, I don't think it is a handball. And the way he went in, it looked like it hit off more from his thigh.
Yeah, I tend to agree there, although looking at different angles, it's really tough to tell, but I think
took a little deflection off Company's head, just enough to kind of, make it skid off the elbow.
Yeah, I think that's a goal. I think the ref made the right call, and I think Tottenham deserved to go to the next round, so that game was crazy. We'll talk about their opponent in the next round, Ajax, who defeated Juventus away. This Ajax team seems to play better away at going to Madrid, to Juventus winning. So, Jessica, do you think this Ajax team has a chance to make the final and even win it?
I think definitely. They have a really good team. They play very simple football, and I think that, with a player like Frankie de Jong that can be very defensive and can also move the ball up really well, and he's going to Barca in the summer, so I think it'd be really interesting to see if that ends up being the final for this season, year.
Yeah, you mentioned de Jong, who just completely controlled that game, and also I want to point out De Ligt, who scored that second goal for the 19-year-old, already the captain of Ajax.
His first goal in an Ajax uniform ends up being,
crazy, insane.
Yeah. The one unfortunate thing about this Ajax team is that although they look really good this year, we all know that next year it's going to be a completely new team, and all this young talent. De Jong, you already mentioned, was moving on. De Ligt is probably going to move on. Even players, like Ziyech and, Tadic, who are, contracts are coming towards an end here. You might see them, request a large transfer to a bigger club. So it's going to be interesting to see how, their summer plays out.
Absolutely. I think this is their year because everything seems to be working for them right now. They've got a great group of young players. They play great football. So, honestly, for this Tottenham-Ajax matchup, I might have Ajax as the favorite just because they've done it on the road versus these huge teams. I just think they've got this great momentum going. But we'll touch on that matchup later. We'll talk about the Liverpool-Barcelona matchup in the next round. They both pretty easily won their quarterfinal time. So, Lucas, who do you think has the edge in this Liverpool-Barcelona matchup?
Yeah, so, looking at the Liverpool-Barcelona matchup, there's 2 very similar teams. A powerful 3 up front, very solid defensive midfield, and then, a back line where you definitely see, the 2 wingers, whether that be, Robertson and TAA on one side, or Jordi Alba and Sergio Roberto on the other side. You're definitely going to see a lot of attacking football, and that's going to put a lot of struggle on the center backs. And as we all know, Virgil van Dijk is a very good center back, but, you look at the other one out there, Dejan Lovren, he doesn't offer that much support, and definitely in a one-on-one situation. So personally, I think I'm gonna have Barcelona move forward just because they're a lot more experienced in this situation. But last year we saw Liverpool make it all the way to the final, in a final where they actually did have a shot of winning if it wasn't for man bun Loris Karius. But I do think I have Barcelona. I think I'm gonna have Barcelona AX in the final.
I mean, I think most people are going to put Barcelona as a favorite just because they've been playing well in La Liga this year, and like you said, they have experience. And when you have
And they have the best player in the world right
and
now.
when you have the best player in the world who's on top of his game, it's tough to stop him. But I think it's going to be a very close tie. I actually might have Liverpool going through just because you mentioned Virgil van Dijk, who's playing so well back there, and that front three playing so well. I think they might have a chance. But we'll quickly touch on the next matchup, Ajax Tottenham. Jessica, who do you have in this match?
I can definitely see Ajax taking it just because I feel like they play very well as a team, and I think that they have very, very good players like De Jong who can be defensive and move up, and I think that's very detrimental to the way that they attack.
Yeah, definitely. I think Tottenham have some injuries. They might not be on top of their form. They might be, mentally drained from just this tie. So I definitely think that Ajax have the edge here. But I think that's all we have for Studio 90 this week, and more SportsZone after this.
Hello and welcome back to SportsZone. This is our NBA basketball segment, Throwing It Up. I'm Camden Crystal, once again joined here with Lucas and Noah. So the NBA playoffs are underway. We've already gotten to see what we've always looked for in the playoffs, which is a lot of drama between these teams once they're in 7-game series. And if we get to it, there's also a weird Zion story that happened. But to start, what we've seen recently after Game 2 with the Clippers and the Warriors is that Patrick Beverley really seems to be getting under Kevin Durant's skin, and it's showing in the game. After DeMarcus Cousins went out, Golden State was up by as much as 31 points before falling in the last couple seconds to Shamet clutch 3, and then some free throws at the end by
Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah. Lucas, let's start with you. Does this conflict between Beverley and Durant seems like he's getting in his head? Do you think this changes the series going forward?
Yeah, Pat Beverley, he's always been a good defender. He's most notoriously known for, talking a lot of trash, getting under people's skin, doing a bunch of weird defensive things. I mean, he is the 2014 NBA Taco Bell All-Star Skills Challenge winner. He knows a little one or two things about basketball and about playing and about competing. And it really is shown with Kevin Durant vocally saying stuff about, Patrick Beverley. And, we all know Durant's a troll. We all know he's a snake. But, he's consistently, giving him light of day when he really shouldn't have. He said in his most recent interview that if he wanted to, he would just shoot over the top of Beverley every single time, and he'd shoot 43%. But the reason he does it is because he wants to have the whole team involved because they play a good style of basketball. And even after their 5th All-Star got injured, they still have 4 All-Stars, so I don't really think that's a big problem.
Yeah.
Well, no, what do you think about this? Because Durant said, as Lucas talked about in his interview, he was saying, my issue is that I keep bringing the ball down to him. I just need to shoot over him. Do you think that's actually just the only fix and that what he called a gimmick defense was actually the issue? Or do you think it's more mental?
No, the Warriors towards the end of the game, too, kind of got stagnant on offense. Weren't drawing up plays for Thompson or Durant off pick and rolls and stuff like that. And the bottom line is, I agree with Lucas, this has little to no effect on the outcome of the series. If the Warriors don't win in 5, I'll be shocked. But yeah, no, I mean the Warriors' offense just got very stagnant towards the end of that game. I mean, you saw those first the first half for sure. I mean they had a lot of they were drawing up a lot of plays. Andrew Bogut was getting in there a little bit.
He'll be seeing more minutes
screens.
now that
He'll be seeing more minutes,
down.
absolutely.
Kevon Looney.
And it's like. I think the Warriors should have no problems, but Beverley, he's always in the playoffs. He's always tough. I think him and Lance Stevenson are similar guys where they just get in players' heads. Mm-hmm. But will it have too much effect? No. Durant's a 6'10", a great jump shooter, should have no problems over Beverley.
All right, now let's turn to the series Noah actually cares about, Nets and Sixers, where Game 1, people could say it's an upset. Nets weren't really expecting much, even though they have a lot of good, young, talented players, especially with D'Angelo Russell, showing that he's an all-star potential player. But now in Game 2, controversy came up when Joel Embiid elbowed. it Dudley?
Yeah. But the thing is with that whole
No,
Joel
yeah, no.
Embiid
What do you
story
think that
is-
Karis LeVert came out and said, I didn't like the way they replied to
No.
that, and Embiid and Simmons were laughing in the post-game interview, talking about, he's like, I
Yeah.
shouldn't have done that, but they didn't really seem
Yeah.
that remorseful.
Yeah,
You think
I
that
think-
changes the dynamic in the series to be a little more,
Yeah.
confrontational between
Sure,
the two teams? Do you think
sure.
there's going to be some more fire going forward?
I don't think so. I think the same thing with the Warriors. I don't see the Sixers slipping up too many games the rest of this series. Embiid is not at his full health right now. That's definitely one thing. That's probably aggravating him a little bit even more. But I don't see the Sixers having too many problems. I mean, their starting five is what's going to ultimately carry them past the Nets. I mean, the Nets might be a deeper team than the Sixers, in all honesty, in regards to their bench. But the Sixers do have a starting five that I don't think the Nets can compete with. So, yeah, I think Embiid, not at full strength, just a little aggravated by that. I don't see it as a huge problem down the stretch, but I mean, I don't know. I think it definitely is interesting when I saw, the Nets and the Magic both win their first games. You thought, wow, the Eastern Conference semifinals could shape up differently than we originally thought. But I think the Raptors and the Sixers should be just fine.
All right, Lucas, let's turn to you for another bit of controversy in that series. So a Nets player came out and quoted saying that Ben Simmons in transition is an elite player,
Jared Dudley.
but
yeah.
once he gets to the hoop, he becomes average. What would you say in response to that? Do you think that changes Ben Simmons' mindset going into the rest of the series? Do you think you'll be seeing some more jump shots, maybe out of spite in that, or do you think he's going to stay to his game?
Out of spite, I would say I would agree with that. He might take a couple more. But if you really think about the statement, a lot of people were like, preposterous. Like, he's such an amazing player. He's an all-star. But when you really look at him play, when he's in that half-court offense, outside of cutting or going off a pick and roll, the fact that he can't shoot, that's how you...
A lot of his game's around momentum.
Exactly.
Once he slows down and can't...
Well, when you look at, someone like him versus someone like Steph Curry, someone like James Harden, when they're the primary ball handler, even Damian Lillard, when you can go off a pick and roll and you're a threat of shooting a jump shot, that makes the pick and roll that much more deadly because you can go hit him with a pump fake, you can go around, pass it off to a man, you can hit him in the corner.
We've seen teams all season, once they see Ben Simmons at the three-point line,
They
go
fake-
back
yeah,
into
they
almost a
back
zone because they know,
Yeah.
we're just waiting for him to try to drive, get momentum towards the basket. Because
Right.
then we can take a charge there, or
Yeah.
we can, set up better to get a block on
And
it.
because of that, because of his liability shooting the ball, that also, he's more prone to turnovers in the half court in comparison to transition offense, which is very interesting because in transition you would think, there's going to be a lot of, turnovers and stuff like that, fast paced.
And while he is an elite passer, you could say, once
But-
people
Well,
know
yeah,
that he
once
has
people
to
know he
force
can't
it because he
shoot.
can't shoot
Shoot,
outside,
they force him
even if you can
into
pass,
bad decisions.
The
people can
shooters,
see it
the
coming
shooters
and really
aren't
can
getting
limit
good
where you
looks
can
now
throw it to.
because they're
Right.
just sitting in the corner waiting for the
Right.
ball. And, if I'm a defender, I'm just going to sit on you because I know that, he's not going to drive behind me. So.
And JJ Redick's not going to get a good look because they're going to play off of Simmons if he's outside the 3-point line. So, yeah.
Definitely good points about both of these series. But now let's turn to a more, would you say heartwarming, kind of strange story that happened in college basketball, even though the season's over, with Zion Williamson dunking to declare, was it some staff members, their child's gender? Noah, what are your initial thoughts on this story? Do you think it becomes another issue? People are going to bring it up as an issue of, he's not getting paid for his name being used once again, or do you think it's more just he volunteered to do something nice for someone he was probably friends with on the team?
That's one thing I want to bring up is pay college athletes. Strongly believe that, but I think there's so many rules. I think it's a problem that it was a bigger issue for the NCAA to make sure that Duke basketball is following protocol for this, rather than just a fun occasion that it was. I mean, Zion has a bright future as we talked about before.
Imagine
Ahead
if
of
he
him,
just missed the dunk, fell
But-
down, broke his leg on that,
and it was over.
and his
But
career's over.
but I think it was just sweet. It was
Yeah,
a
no,
nice
it's
thing.
sweet. I mean, once the Cubs draft him next year into the MLB, he's going to be a real problem.
Yeah.
Position when he played in the MLB, Lucas.
Catcher.
Catcher.
DH, he's going to hit bombs.
I do
Like,
love that people just keep
Yeah,
putting him on teams as the big guy.
Yeah.
He's
No,
linebacker in football, defensive end.
It's going to be fine. Once he joins USA Hockey with Ryan, it's the whole dynamic's going to be changed. So.
Right.
And that's all for throwing it up this week. This is Camden, Lucas, and Noah. See you next time on SportsZone.
Welcome back to SportsZone. This is Ice Time, our premier NHL segment. I'm Ryan Siegel. Lots to talk about going on currently in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We're going to start off taking a look at the matchups from last evening. We're going to start out in the Rocky Mountains, the Colorado Avalanche taking on the best in the West, the Calgary Flames. The Avalanche able to pull off another win at home, 3-2 over Calgary in overtime. Mikko Rantanen with a beautiful goal past Mike Smith in the first overtime to allow Colorado to take a huge 3-1 series lead going back to Calgary and the Scotiabank Saddledome for Game 5. Calgary now with their back to the wall. Swinging down west and south to Sin City, you have the Las Vegas Golden Knights taking on the San Jose Sharks. And again, Vegas dominating San Jose from the get-go. A 5-0 win at home in Vegas at T-Mobile Arena. The arena was rocking, and so were the Vegas Golden Knights. Mark Stone having a playoffs to remember, carrying Vegas pretty much what seems like past the San Jose Sharks again, going back to San Jose for Game 5. Going down south, the Dallas Stars took care of business against the Nashville Predators to bring the series tied at 2-2. Dallas 5 goals on Pecorine, giving him the boot. Nashville able to score 1 late, but at that point the damage was done. The top line, Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, Alexander Radulov, all contributing big numbers, as well as Matt Zuccarello, former Ranger, getting on the score sheet for the Stars, 6 points in 6 games as a member of the Stars. And now perhaps probably one of the biggest matchups in the East in round 1 now that the Tampa Bay Lightning are eliminated. We'll get to that in a second. The Boston Bruins beat the Toronto Maple Leafs 6-4 in Toronto, bringing that series back level to 2-2. Boston scoring often and scoring on the power play. The top line, Patrice Bergeron, Brad Marchand, and David Pastrnak all contributing, as well as Nordstrom getting the empty netter to seal it. Austin Matthews starting to come alive as well with 2 goals of his own. Taking a look at the 2 series that play tonight, Game 6 will be taking place in St. Louis. The Winnipeg Jets and the St. Louis Blues are knotted up at 2, so Game 5 will be tonight. Game 6 will be on Saturday. So look for that series. That series has been back and forth. Very interesting. Jordan Binnington giving up more than 4 goals for the first time in his entire NHL career, which is pretty astounding to say that he has kept some of the biggest scorers on the Winnipeg Jets off the board. But hats off to Binnington and St. Louis, probably the hottest team coming into the playoffs, now deadlocked with Winnipeg going back to the whiteout. And then you have the defending Stanley Cup champions, my employers, poised to probably win another Stanley Cup at the rate they're playing. However, their last game against Carolina at home didn't prove to be the case. A 5-0 win for Carolina. Alexander Ovechkin got in a fight. He knocked out Andrei Svechnikov. That was very interesting to watch. Ovi normally not dropping the mitts, but it's a 2-1 series lead for the Caps. Game 4 is tonight, so be on the lookout for that. And then Game 5 will be taking place over the weekend. But now probably the biggest stories going on. The 2 teams that have advanced to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. We're going to start off with the New York Islanders sweeping the once 2-time Stanley Cup champion Pittsburgh Penguins. The Islanders just came to play, and Pittsburgh looked a little flat in pretty much every game. Robin Lehner in net for the Islanders played outstanding, and the Islanders were just able to find a way to limit Crosby, Malkin, and Gensel and Kessel to just not score. A great 1-2-2 setup. Got to be happy for the Islanders. They could be possibly playing the Washington Capitals or the Carolina Hurricanes. If they play the Capitals, Barry Trotz playing his old team in the playoffs, which he would have called because earlier in the year when they gave him his Stanley Cup ring, he said that the Capitals will have to go through the island if they want to go back to another Stanley Cup. But perhaps the biggest story in the NHL, by far, period, end of story, the Columbus Blue Jackets winning in 4 games. Count them, 4 games against the best team in the league, the Tampa Bay Lightning, who tied the all-time wins record this year with 62 wins, tying the 95-96 Red Wings. just an absolute shock to everybody. Columbus, up until after the first period of Game 1, outscoring the Tampa Bay Lightning 19-5. It was just an absolute rout. Columbus blowing the doors off of the hottest team in the NHL. Nikita Kucherov didn't play in Game 3. That didn't matter because Columbus took care of business pretty seamlessly. And then in Game 4, more of the same. Tampa Bay would get close. Columbus would just pull away even further. But now Columbus has a chance to possibly move on. And in my personal opinion, perhaps one of the most dangerous teams going forward because they truly are playing with house money and nothing to lose. Seth Jones and Zach Werenski, two outstanding defensemen, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they do. They will play the winner of either Boston or Toronto. It should be very interesting to see how the end of round 1 and now round 2 and 3 shake out. But that's all the time we have for this edition of Ice Time. More Sports Zone after this.
Hello and welcome back to Sports Zone. This is our MLB baseball segment, getting to third. I'm Camden, once again joined with Lucas and Noah. So, MLB season's a little more underway. First thing we have to talk about is Chris Davis of the Baltimore Orioles, known as the most overpaid man in the league, has finally gotten his first hit of the season against the Red Sox and the unfortunate pitcher Rick Porcello, who he must feel like the worst pitcher ever right now.
Absolutely.
Here's this guy. He went 62 consecutive plate appearances, including last season, without a base hit. Before finally, and that's September 14th of last season, all the way to, I believe it was sometime earlier last week, where he singled to right field to end the streak. And we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll talk about Red Sox still don't seem to be getting over their funk. Chris Sale isn't the guy who was last season, not the guy who struck out Manny Machado to win the World Series. As well as we'll talk about some other teams that we think haven't really gone over the hump yet or seem to still be keeping that they're overperforming despite what people expected going into the season. But let's start with the record. Lucas, what are your thoughts of Chris Davis finally, getting over the hump, breaking this streak? He talked a little bit about it while it was going on, taking a little bit of a joke out of it. But here's this guy, he's making $30 million a year?
Yeah, he's making $30 million a year.
Finally getting that first hit?
Yeah, he's getting $30 million a year, and he hasn't gotten a hit until the 13th of April. So that just shows you how much of that money is being wasted. And then also
he's a great defensive first baseman.
Great defensive first baseman. He has 54 home runs in a year. However, right now he's the second best Chris Davis in baseball. Because Oakland, Chris with a K, 10 home runs, 23 RBIs or something crazy.
He's on
like
pace for
that.
80 something.
Yeah, for 80-some home runs. So definitely, Baltimore can use some improvement right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
no, what would you? I would say it almost seems like that Josh Hamilton contract when he went to the Angels. He had those historic years with the Rangers, and then he got that big deal.
Terrible.
Do you see any similarities with Chris Davis here, or do you think Chris Davis can kind of get out from under that? Because once the media drags you down, it can be hard to come back as that player you once were, especially when you're not seeing the ball the same way.
It did work for Tiger though.
Because what Hamilton said in his historic season was when he was hitting bombs every at bat, it looked like a beach ball at the plate. But when he started missing.
I really do like that comparison with Chris Davis and Josh Hamilton a lot, actually. I think Chris Davis is when he was 2-3 years ago, when he was the hitter, that he was all-star hitter, hitting tons of home runs every year. I think 30-something one year. I mean, that is what was understandable for his contract, but I even thought at that time they overpaid for him. Mm-hmm. He's a guy that started his career, as a backup first baseman, and then eventually came to the Orioles and became a starting first baseman, and then he found kind of his hitting stride. I mean, he has never been the guy to me that I feel like you could build a franchise around, and I think that's killing the Orioles is that contract. And what happened? Machado's now gone. I mean, there's a lot of fallout now because of that contract with Chris Davis. The team was the worst in the MLB last year. I mean, what's worse, the contract or the team? I mean, I think they both go together.
Alex Cobb contract is pretty
No,
bad.
I definitely,
pretty bad.
you definitely
But I
make a
mean,
good point in saying that
he
Chris
was never
Davis,
a good player
Not just him
before.
underperforming, but the fact he's making so much money to underperform.
Yeah.
That team looked like it was supposed to be up and coming.
Right.
Alex Cobb had a great year with them, so it looked like they had a centerpiece starting
Yep.
pitcher. They had Adam Jones in center before he had that down year last year. He seems like he's resurging with, with the Diamondbacks right now, but
But-
he was playing well. Machado was there.
Another player with a
prospect.
bad contract, Trumbo.
Yeah,
Yeah, that-
Yeah, they thought reliable
It's
DH,
all
played
of
great.
these
Power
big
hitters.
power hitters that eventually kill a team because of
Well,
their
what
big
you need to look
contracts.
into is what a lot of people were saying about Harper last year. He's doing better this season with
Yeah.
it. But like while he was getting those power numbers, that average is what was really scaring people. And Chris Davis, even in his best years, he was only hovering around maybe like 200 to 240, even though he's
Yeah.
hitting like 50 home runs.
Yeah, for sure.
So you really have to look at they were just looking at the power numbers and not really seeing like the entire player that they were
Yeah.
paying that much money for.
For sure.
Like a Mike Trout, you can see paying that much money for because he's hitting for average,
But-
hitting home runs,
yeah.
doing a lot more for the team. But with Chris Davis, if you're paying that much for just home runs,
Yeah, I
once
mean,
that
he
well
has
goes
a-
dry, that can
I mean,
that can go
something
bad
that's even worse than his average, when he actually is getting hits, is his on-base percentage. He's not someone that's going to get on
walks,
base,
yeah.
get walks. He's a strikeout machine.
Well,
If he's
actually, what
not
they've been saying
hitting-
earlier this season is he's gotten a lot of hard contact, but just right to gloves.
Right.
So, what would you say about that? Do you think it's just bad luck, or do you think it's partially like mentally he's just not looking? Because it could be like he hits all those home runs. He's a pull hitter. If people keep playing him for the shift, that's going to happen.
Yeah, no, exactly.
No, and the big thing with it is, like all the steroids he's been taking. Kinda
I
got
think
to the
that
head,
too.
you
I was
know.
thinking that exact
Maybe
same
they make
thing.
him a little
Let's switch
lucid.
topics really quick.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
the
yeah.
Red Sox, they look like they're starting to get it back a little bit. They won a couple games this week, but
Yeah.
Chris Sale has just been horrible.
Yeah.
Velocity was down to start the season. He was averaging around 92 miles per hour. Last game he was averaging more 97, so it looked like he was a little back there. Slider had a little more cut.
Yeah.
But he still, again, gave up 4 runs in, I think, 5 innings to the New York Yankees. He's 0-4 in the season with an 8 ERA. What do you see Chris Sale doing to try to turn this around?
He should use some of that contract and get some pitching lessons. That's for sure. No, Chris Sale looking like Chris overpriced right now. It's just
Looks like
A
he should be
bad
Chris Fire
sale.
Sale.
it's a
Yeah,
bad
fire
sale. Yeah, it's not looking good right now. It's just a matter of time before he goes and cuts up some more jerseys.
Yeah.
So,
But I mean, you can't fault the Red Sox for just Chris Sale, who pitches once every 5 days. I mean, their whole team has been playing
Price been out,
poorly.
Porcello's
Price
been
Mookie
out,
Betts,
yeah.
reigning
Exactly.
MVP,
Mookie
has
Betts,
been hitting like 200.
terrible. Rafael Devers, terrible. I mean, they just have not had pieces even outside of Chris Sale at all this year, at all. So I mean, the Red Sox really need to turn it around. I think they'll be able to turn around with their bats, and their pitching should be able to follow suit. But I think.
Well, no, how do you think they're going to respond with that? Do you think they're going to be starting looking more to trade pieces?
Or
Or do you think
resign
they're
for
going to give them
Kimbrel?
time?
No, I don't think they need to go into panic mode quite yet. I mean, 20 games in or so to the season, only 6 wins, not good. I mean, but no, I don't think they need to start trading anybody. I don't think they need to go, looking into the farm system too much. We all have to remember. I mean, we might be panicking a little bit too much for them because we had high expectations because they won the World Series last year. But I don't see too much of a concern. I mean, the Rays are doing exceptionally well in that division, 14-4, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, they're
Their
really
starting
doing
pitching
well.
has really emerged.
And
There
their
are a lot
starting
of young
pitching is
guys
good.
who were openers last year,
Sure.
who now that they're getting the innings they
Yeah.
deserve. Tyler Glass now.
Yep.
They have that closer, Diego Castillo, I believe is his
Castillo.
name.
Yep.
If you look at his cut fastball, it's like 97 and just zooms across the
Oh,
zone.
yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah.
ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
But we're going to finish off our MLB segment for this week. We want to first throw out Blake Snell. Hope you have a speedy recovery. Be careful carrying stuff around your bathroom. It's very dangerous. Hope that toe heals well. But so that's Camden, Lucas, and Noah. We'll see you next time on SportsZone.
Hello, welcome to Hot Seat. The topic this week, Tiger Woods after winning at the Masters. Is it the comeback story of the decade, of the century? Who knows? Or is it a little bit self-imposed that Tiger ended up getting back to the top? I'm Ryan Siegel, Aaron Dean, and Cam here to argue both sides of it. We're going to start with Cam. Go.
We're talking about a guy with Tiger Woods who he shows that sports stars, even if they reach their peak, they're still human. And so his story showed is that even though he did make mistakes in his personal life, he shows an arc from falling to the lowest you can be after being
But
at the top you can be in professional sports,
but-
being the cover for Nike, and then coming back to once again becoming that champion that he was
My
always
only
supposed
question
to
is, how can it be a comeback when it was the decisions he made, his off-the-course antics that caused this? It wasn't granted, he did have injuries, but it wasn't the injury that caused
You're
this.
overlooking a
It
lot of
wasn't
injuries.
anything
Here's
else.
a guy-
It was
no,
his own.
let's see what he gets.
It was his own life decisions, and this idea that this is the comeback, this is an unbelievable comeback story, is just not true, because we're forgetting about all the things that happened 10 years ago, all the things that transpired, all the things that happened. People were killing Tiger 10 years ago, and now they want to forget about it just because it fits into some great storyline.
You're
I just don't
overlooking
understand.
a lot of his own personal strife for the headline stories. Tiger was a guy who, when he started his career, he was a back leg swinger, and then he blew out his knee, had to relearn how to swing. Then he hurt his back from relearning, and then he had to go through multiple back surgeries.
Do we really think this was a physical thing with Tiger, or do we think it was a mental thing?
You
It had
can't
to
say
be
that it
mental.
didn't play a component,
But-
but you can't
But
understate
you
the fact
can't
that
argue
there was
the
a
fact
lot
that
of a physical aspect
you can't
to
argue
it.
the fact that before all this came out, he had 14 Masters. He did not majors. He did not have a major for 10 more years until
So
this
if you want to
Masters.
make a mental argument, what about the redemption arc there? After he won the Master, he runs over, and first thing he does, he doesn't cheer, he doesn't go to the fans, he goes and hugs his kids. Here's a guy who,
but just because he
after
goes and
his
hugs the
personal
kids,
off-
this
Wouldn't
doesn't mean
anybody
he's a
hug
good
their
guy.
wouldn't anybody hug their kids?
This doesn't mean he's
Well,
a good
but it
guy, or
shows that
what, the mistakes he made are okay.
After the mistakes he made, which clearly weren't thinking about his family, he then reaches the peak once again, and the first thing he goes to
Right, but-
isn't,
but the
oh,
argu-
I redeemed myself
but
in
the-
my
to be-
eyes.
but
He
the-
went
the
back
argu-
to his
I
family.
have a question for you here. You know, everybody says, okay, yes, he did blow out his back, he did blow out his knee, but that all transpired after the fact of all of these
No, the
infidelity
argument I'm
stories
having-
coming out. What's
the
your
argument-
Do you have any comment on that?
Well, but you can't blame those injuries on the
I'm not-
infidelity.
I'm not
because
saying
those
that, but
are
I'm just saying that-
on-field injuries.
But the argument we're having here is this unbelievable comeback story that the press, that the media is making out to be, and I just say no. I'm sorry. I can't forget those things he did 10 years ago. I think it's mostly
But the
mental.
fact is,
I
why
think it's
should you
partly-
care that he was
Final
doing
word,
that?
final word, Cam, final word.
What Tiger did off the field or off the course is not even it shouldn't even be our business. That shouldn't have been in our headlines. That shouldn't be something we care about. That's a personal mistake that he made. What we should be focusing on is what he did on
All right,
the
gentlemen,
it's-
gentlemen.
it's-
We are out of time. Stay tuned for thumbs to figure out who wins this debate. Back after this.
Welcome back to Sports Zone. I'm Lucas, and this is our favorite section, Thumbles, where we give thumbs up and thumbs down to some of our favorite things in sports, media, and just the world in general. So I'm going to start off, and I'm going to give a big thumbs up to Wilson Contreras, to the Chicago Cubs. He's really been playing well recently. You know, 6 home runs from a catcher through the first 20 games of the season is always impressive. So that's going to give him a big thumbs up. I'm going to also give a big thumbs up to the NFL. The schedule was just released last night. And, you know, you see a lot of big matchups, a lot of good primetime games this year. The one primetime game that I have circled on, you be sure to catch me there, is Chicago Bears at Redskins on a Monday night in September. It's going to be a great game. No, the Bears, we're taking it all this year. We're going to forget, the Cody Parkey and, Noah's Philadelphia Eagles last year. Thumbs down to Cody Parkey. I'm still a little mad. I was at that game. Very upset. I'm going to give a big thumbs up to Zion. I just can't wait until, he gets drafted next month. It's going to be really fun. He's gonna, I don't know where he's going to go. I think the Cardinals just circled him on their draft board right now. But I guess we'll just find out, here and there. Good defensive tackle. So thumbs up to Zion. I'm going to give a thumbs down to Ben Simmons. I agree with the Dudley statement a lot. Simmons is great in transition. He has to work on the half-court game. You see players who, their half-court game, like LeBron and Giannis, have, they've progressed a lot in the last few years. Well, LeBron for the last, 15, but, their half-court games are definitely becoming better. They're getting that Mamba mentality. So, thumbs up to Kobe for Mamba mentality. Finally, I'm gonna give a big thumbs up to Pat Connaughton of the Milwaukee Bucks. Super athletic guy. He's throwing down windmills and 360s and pregame dunks. Fun to watch. The Bucks are looking real good. They're about to go and get the chip this year. Giannis deserves it. So, that's all the thumbs I have. I'm gonna go throw it over to Camden now.
Thank you, Lucas. I'd like to start with a big thumbs down to the Seattle Mariners. They had a great start, but then now that apparently since they've played good competition, they can't win a game. it seems like that young core is really falling apart once they face actually good teams. They're not the Royals or the White Sox anymore. You have to actually, play hard. Thumbs up to the Portland Trailblazers, though. They got in Westbrook's head. I think they definitely are. Enes Kanter's turned out to be a bigger factor in the series than I think anybody expected when they signed him for basically a bag of potato chips. I'm really excited to see what they do the rest of the series. If Enes Kanter can be an actual, center presence in this series, I think he could definitely beat Steven Adams in that matchup, and then moving forward, that could be a really interesting series, or interesting playoffs for them. Thumbs down to Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. For people who are pretty familiar with being injured, you think they have a little more sympathy for, elbowing a guy in the jaw for a potential, playoffs-ending hit. I thought they'd have a little more sympathy on that. Other than that, thumbs up to the weather. It's been nice out recently. Got to make sure we get that in there. And now I'm going to turn it to Noah.
What's up, everybody? Thumbs up, Tiger Woods winning the Masters. That's a good comeback story, I think. I think it is redemption, big comeback, because I think first major win that he actually came into Sunday actually behind. So that was actually pretty impressive. The field around him kind of flopped, dropped off a little bit, but props to Tiger. Thumbs up 76ers for getting a win in Game 2, but putting up 51 points in the third quarter, outscoring the Nets 51-23, putting that game away. I'm going to go thumbs down to the Arizona Cardinals. Not sure what they're doing in the front office right now. Josh Rosen's not happy. Kyler Murray's, on the fence. Not sure what's going to happen with them. I think just they're handling the situation pretty poorly right now. Thumbs up. It's spike ball season. But other than that, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan.
All right, bringing it home after spike ball season, that's not something I thought I would have to deal with. First, we're going to start out double thumbs down to Lucas. What was that? Just what was that? You start off, you tell us the Bears are going to win the Super Bowl, strike one. Then you start going, Zion's going to get drafted by the Arizona Cardinals as a D tackle, strike two. And then strike three, you're painting the Bears and the Redskins as a major primetime game. That is perhaps one of the worst primetime games, only worse than any game involving the New York Jets. And that's a Jets fan saying that. So, with that, I would like to say, Lucas, thumbs down to you. I'm also going to thumbs down Cam. Cam was blowing smoke at me with the Seattle Mariners talk, saying, look, they came back after we taped last week. But now they're not in first place in the AL West anymore, and the tank is on. Their first-year player draft pick is going to be on the high side just because they know how to lose. You change the name of your ballpark, and all of a sudden, you can't even recognize the team. But thumbs down to Seattle for that. But other than that, I like the Mariners. It's just, I got to give Cam a hard time just because. Why not? I'm going to thumbs up Zion for a better reason with the gender reveal. I thought that was kind of a cool thing. I know Cam, before we started taping, was kind of just what is this all about? And that's fair. It's a weird thing to ask a college player to do. But, for a person who probably lives in Durham and, their life revolves around Duke, that's a pretty cool thing to get, the star of the Duke Blue Devils team to basically come out and go, you know what? I can do an easy one-handed right-handed slam and just, help these people out. It shows Zion's a person. Zion's a good dude. I will be looking forward to see wherever he gets drafted this year in the NBA, hopefully the New York Knicks, because Lord knows they need the help, even though we'll find a way to get rid of him, just like we got rid of Enes Kanter for a bag of potato chips. I'm going to thumbs up the New York Jets because C.J. Mosley actually seems like he's going to be a good player. But I'm also then going to thumbs down the New York Jets because we're going to still find a way to blow this season. We have a coach who wears his hat all the way down because his eyes go 9 different directions. But I don't know. The Jets are a thumbs middle kind of at the end of the day because, you thumb up, thumb down. Also, Lucas, I'm going to go back again at you. Thumbs down. You're going at Cody Parkey. you forget that Cody Parkey was an Eagle, and you're surprised that, he missed a kick against his former team. I don't want to start a conspiracy theory, but let's start a conspiracy theory here. Cody Parkey actually wanted the Eagles to win. Thumbs up to the Columbus Blue Jackets. They made me eat my words. I mean, I didn't fill out an NHL bracket this year. I just had no idea who was going to win. It was so wide open. Yep, your mind's telling you Tampa, but, my gut was telling me it's not going to happen, and it didn't. I'm not going to say that I picked Columbus to beat them in 4, because that is definitely not what I'm saying. But, that was just an absolutely unreal series. I'm also, this is paining me to say this, I'm going to thumbs up the New York Islanders, mainly because of Barry Trotz, not because of the Islanders as a team. They're a second-rate franchise, and anybody who says they're better than the Rangers are in a rebuild and have been in the playoffs a long time. You've won your second playoff series since the 80s. So don't start coming at the New York Rangers online. Just want to throw that one out there. Thumbs up to Matt Zuccarello, Dallas Stars, 6.6 games. Dallas needs to make the conference finals so that second-round pick turns to a first-round pick for the Rangers. We already got the number 2 pick. We're going to take Dallas's pick as well. So we just have draft picks galore coming into New York. So we're scaling up. We're trending in the right direction. It'll be good. Thumbs up to the New York Yankees. Just finding ways to win. I mean, I know they're 8-9, but last year they really struggled against Boston. They're now 2-0 against Boston. I know it's April baseball. Who really cares? But I just have to say thumbs up to the New York Yankees for beating the Red Sox. I'm going to thumbs down VAR, or at least the VAR review in UEFA. I think video review is good for all sports. I think it gets the call right. But UEFA, how do you not let the referee see one key angle that could have possibly changed his mind? I'm not saying it would have. How do you not show the referee every key angle that he possibly needs? The one camera angle through the goal where it looks like it might have grazed the guy's hand. How is that not shown to the referee? I have no idea how that is not shown to the referee. And then all of a sudden yesterday, UEFA announces there's new intensive training for their VAR system. I digress. Thumbs down to Jake Elmsley because he sucks. That won't change. Thumbs up to the weather. And now hot seat. Hot seat. This was honestly a debate. We debated it a long time in the back before we came live on the show today. It could have gotten very, very touchy, but it didn't. I'm glad that. First of all, hats off to the two guys who went, Aaron and Cam, because both of them argued very good points. I gotta lean, and this is tough. I gotta lean. The slight edge gotta go to Aaron. Very slight. I mean, it's very, very slight. Yes, I think Cam's best points, obviously the injuries, you can't fault him for that. But, his career then hit the skids all of a sudden the minute he starts, with his extramarital affairs. I don't want to say that that's the sole reason, but then all of a sudden he's firing his cat, he's firing his swing coach. It's a tough one to pick, and I can't have a tie. Because it was probably the closest hot seat we've had of all of the hot seats. There was I could have picked either winner. It really was tough. I tossed a coin before I came on thumbs today. That was who won. It was a really tough decision. But that's all I've got for thumbs this week. So for Aaron, Noah, Cam, Lucas, Jessica in the back, I'm Ryan saying so long from SportsZone. Tune in next week.